Okay, so today I'm just going to show you 7 quick motion graphics beginner techniques that you can start using in Davinci Resolve. So the first one I'm going to show you is how to create a background. Now to get started, come into your media pool, right click, new fusion composition, and choose your frame rate, the clip name, and then the duration, because this is a background for me, I want it to be about 30 seconds. And then drag it into your timeline. So with it highlighted, come into the fusion page. And on the left side, you'll have a background node, so just drag it down into your node tree, and then connect the gray square to the yellow triangle. So I'm just going to click here so I only see what I'm working on and not the source viewer as well. And then on the right, you now have options. So if you want to have a solid color, you can stick with a solid color. But most of the nice backgrounds you see tend to use a gradient, and they usually use a radial one. And what you'll see in a lot of other people's videos is the circle will be in the middle. So I'm just going to drag the start to 0.5 and then drag the end out a little bit so it's a bit bigger. And now we want to choose our colors. So if you click on the first triangle, find a color that you like, and then copy the hex code, click on the next triangle, and then paste your hex code in, but make it a little bit darker. And then you have a background that looks better than just dragging a solid color into your timeline. Okay, so now if you want to add a little bit of animation to this, which I do, come over here and put a keyframe on the start and the end, and then come back to the start, move the start over to the left, and maybe drag the end down a little bit. Then what it's going to do as the video plays, it's just going to play that animation all the way through. You can do some pretty cool stuff with this, so you can just have like a little bounce effect. There's loads of stuff you can do, that's just an example. And then you just have a little bit more of an interesting background for your footage, your motion graphics, and all that kind of stuff. Next one, we have the text follows path. So I'm just going to add a text down here like we did with the background and connect them together. And then type in the text, choose how you want it to look. And then once you're happy with what you got, come over to the layout, and then when it says type, you can choose path. So with the text highlighted, you can just click anywhere up here, and I'm just going to make a box just to show you how it works. Then if you come to the beginning, add a keyframe, and then come to the end to position it all the way around. Now it's going to go all the way around your footage. You can make it even more interesting by filling it in completely, and then it'll be surrounding all your footage. And then if you want that over the top of your background, come back into your edit page, and there we go. As you can see, it's playing over the background. So this is why I kind of prefer to have things in different fusion compositions rather than everything in one, because then I can play around with the length and change things a lot easier. But you can do all this in one composition as well if you want to. Next one is a 3D text, which you can find here. So you drag this in. Unfortunately, you can't just drag this to your media out node. You need to add a render 3D node between them so it knows what to do with them. So if you shift space, type in render 3D, just going to add that one. And then you can connect your text 3D to that, and then that to your media out. So again, type in the text you want, find the font you want, and position it. So once you've got that, come to the extrusion and increase the depth of the text and the bevel, which is kind of like an edge highlighter, but we'll be able to see this more in a second. And then come over to your shading, make sure where it says use one material, you've got that unchecked. And you can change the color of those areas just so you can see it better. So the bevel, yeah, is that kind of outline that you used to draw back in reception. So once you've got the colors, it's a lot easier to see what the bevel depth is going to actually look like, so you can play around with it. And if you want to add some light, if you want to add some shadows into this, you're going to have to just disconnect here, press shift space, add a merge 3D node, put that in the middle and just drag these together. Then we're going to add a directional light node. I know there's so many nodes that you have to do. Click them together, and then come over to your render 3D, enable lighting. If you want to change the color of your text after you've done this because it goes into a black and white, you can come to your text 3D, come over to the specular color under material. Okay, so if you want to animate your text now, you can just do it simply in the transform, where you can obviously add the keyframes and do with it what you want. But if you want a little bit more control, come over to your text, right click in the text box and add a follower modifier. Now, nothing will happen until you add a keyframe. So I'm going to add a keyframe at the end because that's where I want this to finish. And then add a keyframe for the offset because I want to bring it all the way up. And then go back to the start. So I want to add a little bit of rotation on my things. And then I'm going to pull the y-axis as well to the left just so it can add a rotation as the text comes in. And also with timing, I'm going to come over to the timing and add a delay. Then add a keyframe just before the end because I do want them all to line up together. And then bring the delay back to 0. And there we go. I think I want some ease in and ease out, so I'm going to click the spline tool, highlight my keyframes again, and then just press S, and then it eases in and eases out. Next up is the tracking. So got my clip highlighted and click Fusion. So we're going to shift space and add a camera tracker. Press add, connect them together the same way we do everything else. Then drag it to the start of your clip, check bidirectional tracking and auto track. Ooh. Pretty dots. Okay, and once that's all done, click Solve and click Solve. And then we come over to Export, 3D Scene Transform, Unaligned. Then you're going to find the section that you want to track to. So for me, I'm going to pretend that this restaurant is that Dunkin' Donuts? Ooh. So I'm going to track it to there. Then you press Set from Selection, and then you press Aligned, and then you press Export. And that creates a bunch of new nodes for you to play with. So just disconnect your camera tracker and get rid of it, and then connect this last one to the media out. If you wanted to now, you could see your text on it. So if you add the text 3D node and then just drag it onto there, now it's nice and tracked over the Dunkin' Donuts. But instead, I want to add a call out. So I'm going to come over to my templates, edit, titles, and then I'm just going to search for call out. Now, because this isn't just a simple text and it's actually a collection of other Fusion nodes, then with the callout, I need to add an image plane, drag that to the merge 3D, then add another merge, and then drag the callout to the merge, and there we have it. A nice little callout over the Dunkin' Donuts. And that is going to track all the way through until it goes off the screen. Okay, for these next few, I am going to do everything on the same Fusion composition. So I'm going to go back to my background node and open it back up in Fusion. So I want to add a text. I'm just going to add my text box onto the line here, and it's going to create a merge node. Just drag that up just to keep it neat. And type in the text. So I work with Dr. Tim a lot, so I'm going to put his name in. And now with that on, we can animate the text. Now the simplest one is the write on, and that is already included. So if I want to do that, I can just come to where I want it to finish. So let's just do it a few frames in. Add an end node. Bring it back to the start. There we go. We got a nice simple write on animation. And let's say we wanted to add a line on as well. So we would use the polygon tool. So if I click the polygon tool, then I need to bring in a new merge node, connect the old merge to the new merge, and connect that to the media out. And then we connect the polygon to the merge. Put the border width up just so we can see it. Nice. And then you can play around with the length. You could also play around with the position as well. So if this is where we want it to all be 0, we could set our 2 keyframes on the position and length, come back to the start and lower the length. And we see that it goes to there. And then we're going to add another keyframe for the position because we didn't move it yet. Then come over to double that, so about 110, and then move the position all the way off. That will create an animation where it follows the text animating on and then animates off. But you are left with this little circle here. So you want to make sure that you have this selected, which is the flat end, and then it will disappear. So let's just try a different kind of style now. So click back on the merge and let's add a B-spline because this one creates perfect curves around everything. And let's animate around, okay, and see what that one looks like. So sometimes you might notice that when you've connected nodes, it's not appearing, and it's because it's connected the wrong way. So if it's blue, then it's connected the wrong way. We need to reconnect it and then it should show up. I'm just going to do the same as I did last time and just animate this one on. The one good thing about this is I don't need to do that every time I want to add something. Thankfully, Davinci made something easy. So you can just copy your spline and paste, and it will add a new version of it. And then we can make this one a little bit bigger. So let's drag the points out in different areas. And now we have 2 animated lines. And then if we want them to just start at a different time, we can come over to keyframes, and you can see that we have the B-splines here. Make sure you click this arrows if you're not seeing what you want. And we can just drag the second one to start a little bit further along. And there you go. Okay, and the last one I'm going to show you is just how to do a few little circle bursts on the screen, because that is on every single motion graphics template pack that you will ever download. And now you can save time and not have to download it again. So we need a new background node, so we're going to drag this over to the end, and we've got a nice little merge tree again. Let's make this one white just so we can see it against everything else. And then we're going to add the ellipse over the top of it, change it from solid and add a border width. Then we're going to want to animate it, so we're going to select our background and add a transform node, so it adds that in. So on the transform node, we're just going to drag it down to 0, add a keyframe, then go a few frames ahead, add it on. Then to make it easier, if you only want to see the circle, you can just highlight all your nodes and press Ctrl P just to hide them. I'm going to play around with the border width back on the ellipse and just make it a little bit more noticeable. But we're also going to want to animate it out as well. So just a few frames before the end, we're going to add a border width keyframe. And then we're going to come to the end keyframe and add another keyframe for 0 on the border width. And that way it animates out. Okay, now if we want to duplicate this, a quick and easy way is come over here, select your transform node, type in duplicate on the search up here in the effects, and then double click, and it will add a duplication node on top of the merge 3. So we can increase the copies up to 10 copies, then come over to jitter, Then if you play around with the center, it's going to add your copies spread across the page. You can then come back to controls, and then we're just going to play around with where we want everything pieced together. So maybe around here. And then the size as well, so it'll randomly change the sizes between them all. And then if you play around with time offset as well, it will make them all come up at different times. So if we play it back now, there we go, we have some nice little circle animations at different times. And then just see what it looks like all together. It looks absolutely hideous, but at least now you know how to do it all, and you can make something that looks much sexier than this.